Hello and welcome to Team DSI Advanced Leadership Webinar. We are super excited for today's training. We have a very special guest for you from USANA's corporate office. And before we get into the training, I just want to first of all recognize you for being an advanced leader, being somebody who plans their week, who makes their plan and works their plan. And you know, not everybody in USANA does this or plays the game at this level, but you are an elite associate, and we want to give you extra training. We want to sow extra time into you, and so that's why we do this call for you every Wednesday, and giving you the best that we have, because you are the best in Team DSI and the best in USANA. So let's start with, first of all, just reminding everybody that please remember, amateurs sell products, but professionals sell the vision. We're selling the USANA vision, the vision of not just true health, but time freedom, financial freedom, the relationships, the community that we build, everything that USANA offers. Please be focused on selling everything that USANA provides, not just the products. That's the big difference in building your team. Professionals sell the vision. So today's special guest is Brion Armstrong, who is the manager of U.S. Field Development for USANA Corporate Office. Brion is a dear friend of mine, somebody that I have worked with very closely in the field for the last several years. And you are in for a treat, because he's going to be sharing a lot of the things that he's seen with working in the field with thousands of associates all over the United States. He's going to be sharing what he's seen that works. He's going to share what he's seen that doesn't work. He's going to be talking about convention. He's also going to answer any questions that we have with our time. So Brion, thank you for being on. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sow into our team. We really appreciate you. I personally appreciate you so much for all the support you give me and the team. And I'm super excited to learn from you today.
We're going to have some fun. How's everybody doing?
They are doing good. They're on mute.
It's the way to be, right?
Yes. On mute. Yes, on mute. That's the way to be on the conference call. Yes.
Oh, it's hilarious. No, we actually had a conference call the other day where somebody jumped on. I think they're on a different meeting. They were trying to start another meeting, so they joined ours and started talking in a language that none of us understood.
Oh, yeah.
How's it going? So eventually we muted them and allowed them to join us. But I can understand that. So businesses are fantastic. They're a lot of fun. Now, you're going to see in today's world that businesses are everywhere, but at the same time, we're still leaving the employee mentality, which was really driven into us about 150 years ago by the Industrial Revolution. Prior to that, prior to major factories where we all moved closer together and started being told our value by somebody else, and really starting to dive into that idea, everybody was their own entrepreneur, whether they were working on a ranch or a farm, there was contract work, or they owned their own, and then they also did X, Y, and Z on the side. Prior to that, everybody knew that not only survival, but their security and their freedom completely was within their hands. The Industrial Revolution came along, and we all started moving to larger cities. We started working for larger corporations, and they told us what our value was, and we agreed with it. Then we created a school system where, again, it's very, very similar. And it's a part of our culture today. It's a part of our culture to allow somebody else to tell you your value and what something is worth, and specifically yours. And entrepreneurs are a very weird bunch, because that's just not the way they are. Whether they learned that and became something newer, or it's been bred into them, they change something about themselves that is fundamental in today's society, and quite frankly still very prevalent in other parts of the world, is they told themselves what they're worth, and they're out there to create their own freedom. But beyond that, they're out there to create their own security, because security that's handed to you isn't security. And so in working with all these amazing entrepreneurs, diamond directors and above, there are obviously a few things that definitely stick out.
And Brion, I'm going to take you out of the slide so people can actually see your facial expressions and everything.
Sure.
So there you go.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
And what I found with this business and with this industry is it is not unique from any other actual business. most businesses follow the same patterns. And there's phases that they go through. When somebody's brand new to a business, it's their first business, it's their first startup, regardless if that's a retail business, gardening business, or it's a network marketing business, they always follow these same patterns. The first pattern, the first phase is what we call passion and purpose, meaning they only got passion, they only got purpose, they can only sell because heaven knows they don't have customers yet. And they all start off in the same way. If you go to any entrepreneur class in any university, the first thing they do besides develop the idea that they want to get out into the world is, okay, sit down and make a list of 100 people you can go talk to about it to not only refine your idea, but to actually start buying what you're doing. And it's not unique to this industry to sit down and make a contact list and go out and talk to them. That's normal for every business. And so that first phase is passion and purpose. Now, a lot of folks, what they don't have in the beginning is they have tons of passion, but they don't have that purpose. And in this industry, we call it the why. And that why could be as simple as you wanting to have USANA pay for a lunch on a weekly basis. Or it could be you're having the full freedom to do whatever you want, with whom you want, when you want. It really comes down to what your imagination is, what your values are. But whenever somebody says that they want that complete time freedom, they want to have enough money to go traveling around the world, my usual first comment is, great. When is the lunch that USANA buys? What is that first step towards that? And after you get that lunch that USANA is paid for, your business is paid for lunch, great. When's the weekend that USANA pays for? When is the weekend that your business with USANA pays for? And it's beyond just the amazing trips that we take on, like the grocery bill this last week, or the Dominican Republic coming up. This is actually your USANA business outside of one of the USANA rewards, actually taking you to a place that you plan to go to, and taking you to the lunch that you want to go to, and taking you to that dinner that you want to go to, making those steps on the path. So that's that first phase, is passion and purpose. Second phase of every business that exists is called breaking even. Now, mind you, in the normal business world, the average is about 5 to 7 years where you've actually are no longer bleeding money. You're no longer having to front the money. Your business is actually paying for itself to break even. Again, you're still in debt in the business world because you're having to pay back those loans. But your business is paying for those things and is covering your overhead. And USANA, we have a very unique proposition because, number one, initially, even when I started with USANA, was 8 or 9 years ago, it was still very, very easy to do because the overhead was what you were consuming. It was, you could redirect your spending from what you're buying in the store to your own USANA store. But even now, it's even easier because you can place preferred customers into your personal volume. Your overhead can be covered by your customers for the most part. And whether that's you taking your products, and if you notice it's not exactly getting up to 200, you put a personal customer there, or you put personal customers there, and you use your personal purchases towards commissionable volume, which is a fantastic way to do it. You can actually hit that break-even phase much, much earlier with your USANA business than anywhere else. Now, those leaders who are having success are the ones who learned this early on, that their first goal beyond passion and purpose is to make sure that they're breaking even, that their people are earning enough money so that their business is paying for itself. Now, the third phase is what we call volatile profit, meaning now that they have a hard deck of what they're earning, that they're not going below, it kind of bounces up and down a little bit. And you see that probably in your own businesses where this week's a little better, this week's a little worse, and that's absolutely normal for a time. And that's where it's a great place to be. Now, the key to that area is start to look at what your planned orders are. You can see that on the 4-week cycle, what's coming up, and seeing which weeks are strong and which are the weaker weeks. That way you can actually plan your events during a very strong week where everybody's already excited, and then you can start placing orders on the Saturday afterwards. And let's just say you have a Friday event and Saturday morning you place the orders. That way you get the momentum of one of those weeks where you're strong, where everybody's up, everybody's excited, that's a good week, and you can put it into the week where you might need a little bit more help. And that stabilizes that volatile profit, that volatile growth, into something much, much more stable. Now, one thing I've been talking to quite a few leaders about just recently, mind you, this is a talk I have at the diamond level. So you're getting this a lot earlier than most. Now, many of our business leaders have built it so that their legs are balanced. They have that 5,000 points left and right. And with a lot of my diamonds, what I'm noticing that they're doing now is that they're starting to put in goal directors on each of the legs, at least 2. Now, ask yourself, why would they put 2 goal directors on each leg when they can only get paid out at 5,000? Because now that they're creating that freedom, now they've created the checks that they're looking for, they're creating that lifestyle, they have these sales to match their lifestyle. They're looking to create that security again. They want to make sure that there's enough volume, enough sales through each leg where shifts in the market, shifts in teams don't actually affect their lifestyle. That's a long-term vision. That's vision casting at its finest, because now that they're achieving their dreams, they're securing their dreams. That may not be where you're at right now, but it's something to have in the back of your mind, because what they've realized is, yes, they could sell X, Y, and Z, and they can make X amount of money, but replacing that money is very difficult over time because you begin to slow down. So what do? You focus on your sales. You focus on what you can do 80% of your time. And that other 20% is building another leader in your downline, helping them to have that success, helping them to hit their goals. When is the lunch that USANA pays for them? When's the weekend that USANA pays for them? How are we helping them to reach their goal? Because they know if they have those solid people in their team who are hitting those things that their heart is looking for, that their security is looking for, that their lifestyle is looking for, they know that they are also achieving what they need in their business. And if they do that in 2s and 4s, it creates that security in addition to what they're already doing. Now, one of the things that I see that doesn't work, and I see this unfortunately all too often, is fear. And fear is a paralytic. I mean, it really sincerely is. And this is all kinds of fear, no matter if it's in business, whether it's in a relationship. What we fear slows us down and all too often stops us, because we are actually programmed to experience 5 times more a loss than a gain. Meaning, if I gave you $5, you're like, thanks for the $5. If 10 minutes later I came back and said, I need that $5 back now, you would actually feel it 5 times worse than the good that you felt it when you received it. So that's a part of what we are. It's part of who we are. But beyond that, it actually can stop. It robs you of whatever good you could have created in the world. And fear is something that I still see. It's not something that ever technically goes away. I still see it in diamonds. I still see it in emeralds. I see it in brand new people. But the fear changes about what it's about. And it usually happens around the very same item as change. Change is going to happen. In fact, those who are the most comfortable with change are usually those who are guiding the change, because they understand where we were doing business 25 years ago doesn't exist. Think about it, 25 years ago. Let's go back that way, 1990s. I was in high school. There were still payphones. Most people had pagers if they were ultra rich. How many of you have pagers? I mean, when's the last time you saw a payphone? Grunge was in style. Thank heaven that went away. And it's just not the same world anymore. AOL was you got mail. That was social media. That was the extent of it. And people didn't even know to market via email or via social because it just didn't exist. And today, I mean, if you don't have an Instagram account or a Facebook account, it's weird. And that's a lot of communication. So change is going to happen in your business. So how do you accommodate that? Well, first off, here's how you do it. The very first thing you do, first off, you have the system. You already have a fantastic system in place, because no matter what change happens, these things don't change. Number 1, finding new customers. Number 2, keeping the customers you have. So with social media, can you find new customers? Yeah, you absolutely can. You can connect with somebody on social media. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're messaging out, USANA, so you get blocked by everybody. That means that you actually message out, hey, guys, I'm making this awesome shake. This is how I'm feeling today. How are you guys doing? What are you doing to make sure that you're keeping up with your energy for the day? One of my dear associates has the why am I so, and they actually said this, and it's EFFING, tired pack. Why am I so effing tired pack? And that's what's written on their My Health Pack. They put that out there, and instantaneously people went, yes, I don't care what it is, but give it to me, because they're connecting with their audience. Again, no matter what change is, those 2 things never change, finding new customers and retaining the ones you have, because that is exactly what every business that has ever existed or ever will exist, those are the 2 ideas behind it. Because if you can find new customers and you can get your product into their hands, if you can get that change into their life, they're going to stay with you. Now, something that I do worry about quite often, especially with newer entrepreneurs, is that they don't treat this as a business, because it absolutely is a business. What you put into it is what you'll get out of it. Too many times we allow ourselves the excuse of, well, I can do this anytime. How many of you have heard that? I can do this anytime. It's a business you can do in the nooks and crannies of your life. That's absolutely true. You can. Any business owner will tell you they can do that. The ones who actually have that success are the ones who are intentional about their success. Now, whether that's business hours or whether that's you have a trigger set up that you get in your car, you make 5 phone calls, depending on how you do it, as long as it's a system, you're going to have success in this group. From what Jared is saying, is the group that does that. You're the group who goes out and says, this is what I'm going to do, and by the end of the week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You're taking action. Because, quite frankly, Disney said it best, the easiest way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. And that is absolutely essential for what you're doing. But in doing that, I want to remind us that there are phases in business. You have to put in your time. You have to do the time. Steve Jobs once said, if you look closely, most overnight successes took quite a bit of time. So you're going to have to invest that time. Now, one of my mentors used to say, Brian, if I put 15 women in a room, how long will it take the one pregnant woman in the room to not be pregnant anymore? And we all kind of laugh, well, 9 months, she's going to be pregnant regardless of how many people I throw at it. He goes, exactly. Business is very much the same way, except we don't know when the 9 months is going to end, if it's shorter or faster. Patience is understanding that there's a process of time that has to occur. Downstairs in our laboratories where they're testing for other things, one of their favorite things that they say is, I can create the ideal condition and it will still take X amount of time for this to grow. But in the meantime, do we sit there and we stare at it? No. If this amazing woman is pregnant, that's when we build the nursery, we buy the diapers, we get the formula, we have the friends over, we read the books. What does that mean for you and your business? How does that translate to your day-to-day? Are you going to be diamond directors? Absolutely. You put in time, it's just a matter of time. In the meantime, what do? In the meantime, you find your customers, you retain the ones you have, and you build somebody else to replace your skill set in your downline. That is what you do in the meantime. It's going to happen. Businesses fail when we stop acting, when we've chosen to no longer pursue it. That's what a business failure is. Beyond that, it's your growing, it's your learning, it's your taking action intentionally to move your life forward and having the character to do that. Now, knowing that, let's go back to that goal setting, because this is actually where I see even diamonds tend to lose focus. One of the common things that I have with those who are in Growth 25, because I talk with those folks on a weekly basis, is they want to know where they are compared to the other people around them. They have that social measure, and it's intense for them. It's actually one of their main values, is they want to know where they stand. That could be knowing your numbers, but for the most of them, they're like, okay, the 5 people ahead of me, what's the average? The 5 people behind me, what's the average? And what is the top 3 spots? The reason they do that is because it gives them perspective on where they're at. Now, most of us who have been employees for a long time are trying to escape that. Your first thought is, oh, that's a lot of work. I have to make up a lot. And that's normal for somebody who's in an employee mindset. If you felt that way before, nod your head. Yeah. Here's the difference with a newer entrepreneur versus an experienced entrepreneur. Now, a lot of you are new entrepreneurs. A new entrepreneur goes, that's a lot of work. An experienced entrepreneur goes, cool, that's work. I can do that. One is looking at the road ahead of them. The other one is looking at what they can do. Two very different mentalities. So as you go into your work week this week, I want this to be immediately applicable for you. As you look at the work week this week, and you look at this list of people that you're going to contact, people you're going to connect to, or how many brand new people that you realize you're going to connect to this week and eventually turn into a contact for health and wellness. That is fantastic because it's completely inside of your ability to do it. And I'm going to end on this note, then we can go into questions and answers. Recently, there was a study done by Sean Aker. And you might know that name. He's written The Happiness Advantage, Before Happiness, and he's a Harvard researcher specifically on happiness. But this last time, when he was about to publish Before Happiness, he and his wife were doing an amazing study at Harvard about opportunity and your ability to actually see opportunity. And so what they did is they had students come in, they take a test that would say if they're pessimist or optimistic. In their perspective, they have them sit down, they have them read a newspaper, and they had a camera watch the person's eyes. And they were told, if you read this entire newspaper from front to back, we'll give you $5 the minute you finish reading it. Great. And so people sat down, they'd open up the newspaper, they'd read page 1. And on page 2, at the very top, it said, stop here and we will pay you $10. Now, a surprisingly large statistical advantage of optimists is that they see those opportunities, because they sincerely believe they're around them. Now, those who saw it, who were in the pessimistic lifestyle, they actually watched their eyes glaze over and keep reading, and some of them actually stopped on it. There was a full recognition of what it said, and they kept reading. When they asked them later, why didn't you do it? They said, we just thought it was a trick. We thought, no, I can get my $5. I don't have to. I mean, the rules were I'd read the entire newspaper. Now, what does this mean for you? Now, in the back of your mind, and I do mean this is actually biological. There's an actual structure in the back of your brain called the reticular formation. It is your filter. All of you right now are wearing clothes, but you didn't realize it necessarily until I said it. The clothes are actually touching your skin. Your tongue is at the top of your mouth, and now it's going to drop to the bottom of your mouth because I said it, because you think it's weird. Go ahead and put it back to the top. It's normal. But again, your mind is receiving thousands upon thousands of signals every single second. The reticular formation, its biology, its personal structure, its purpose in life is to filter out things so you can focus on priorities. Now, maybe you bought a car and all of a sudden that car pops up everywhere. That's the reticular formation. So how does this apply to your business? By you being intentional, by you sitting down business hours or a trigger point where you say, whenever I get in my car, I make 10 phone calls, or whenever I go to the mall, I have to meet 3 people. Whatever your trigger is or whatever your intentional time is, that sets up your reticular formation, your biological structure for filtering to see what was previously not obvious to you, but has always been there. The reason why diamond directors get to be diamond directors is because they become honed in on the opportunities around them, and they take advantage. Those who are successful are those who show up when everybody else says it's not worth it. They're the ones who talk to the people when they say that person would say no. The reason why they go out and they actually have success is because simply they show up and they act. And they've learned to recognize those opportunities by being intentional about it. They've actually set up their own filters. You can do this too. It's going to take some work. Guarantee you. There are times when you feel bulletproof and all of a sudden all these opportunities pop up. There's days where you feel like you're Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh and there's that gloomy cloud hanging over you and really very few rays of sunshine can break through it. Easy way to get out of that, in all honesty, because you can't talk yourself out of that kind of a funk, is go out and go for a run, go out and do some push-ups, and then go out and intentionally meet people, because it sets up your filters for a different outcome. You see the outcome because you're creating the outcome. And that, in all honesty, is why the most successful people in the world are who they are. They eventually create the world that they want to live in. All right, so what questions do you have for me? How can I help you? Where are you guys at?
Brian, this is awesome. I've been taking tons and tons of notes, man. I love it. So I want to give the opportunity to anybody who wants to ask a question, because many of them are at work and they only have a half-hour break.
Gotcha.
We have time for 2 questions. Who wants to ask one?
You can type them in and I'll read them off if you're working.
Unmute yourself or type it in. Denise Garcia says, this was amazing. It was. I'm just going to give them a minute to come up with a question.
What's a pain point you have right now in your business? What is something that's holding you aback?
You guys can ask Brian anything. You can share with him, like you said, a pain point, something that's holding you back. Brian is a master at psychology. He has helped me many, many times.
You all have pain points.
Yes.
Every person walking around you, I guarantee you, they have something they wish they were doing and aren't doing.
Right?
Mm-hmm. What was my biggest challenge when I began USANA? In all honesty, I didn't believe in vitamins.
You didn't believe in vitamins.
I did not. There's people walking around today who I worked with in physical therapy who say you can get everything you need from your food. I'd seen vitamins go in and come out in the bedpan. I'd seen it. It was actually John Cuomo, who is the executive director of research and development, who has over 35 years in nutritional sciences. I had no idea who he was. I knew it was John. I just knew he was a scientist, and he went, Brian, you're absolutely right. You don't need vitamins to be alive. If your goal is to not be dead, perfect. You're right on point. And I went, wait, what? He goes, but this isn't about not being dead. There's a difference between fuel and nutrition. And if you're looking at seeing what your body can do, if it has the proper base materials in it, that might be something you want to explore. And he left it right there. And of course, my person type is such that I wasn't going to leave it there. And that started me reading more, becoming more educated, talking to him about his viewpoints on things. I had no idea this man had multiple patents in nutritional items. And yeah, that was probably my biggest challenge.
Interesting. Great question, Adriana.
How do you take advantage of the opportunities around you? Great question. First off, you have to recognize that they actually exist. Give you an easy example. I'm originally from California. I'm from a family that's one of the first surfing families in California. And if you go and talk to the majority of people who live in Southern California, how often do they go to the beach? You do. It's just they don't take advantage of it. As far as business goes, I love Richard Branson. Screw it. Let's do it. It's just the way that entrepreneurs are programmed. They operate by priorities and by energy that they have to dedicate. They don't operate by time. And so if you have the energy to dive into it, then walk up to it. Taking advantage of the opportunities around you, there's never a moment where I'm not talking to somebody new. It's rare that a day goes by that I don't meet somebody new, whether it's in the grocery store, it's out for a run. I meet tons of people want to go hiking on the weekends. I mean, it's just starting up conversations, seeing where people are at. You'd be surprised how many CEOs of massive corporations that I'd never heard of before, but who are just remarkable individuals just by walking around talking to people. That's pretty much it. So how do you take advantage of it? You see the opportunity, you realize it's worth, and you act. You have to be intentional. There's no such thing as unintentionally ridiculously successful.
Awesome. Great question, Denise. We have time for one last question. Who's it going to be? We can unmute you or you can type it in.
You're welcome. Well, this year at convention, friends, since we're going to end on that note, we always say it's going to be the best year yet. Just wow is all I have to say. I got here at 6 a.m. today to the corporate office to go over things that are just absolutely blowing my mind. I am so grateful that I got beyond my own prejudice against nutrition, to be honest. That I was offered the opportunity to be a part of such an amazing company. This company is still passion and purpose. And it's not just Dr. Wentz's. It's attracted some of the most amazing individuals I could ever hope to meet. So thank you for all of you being who you are, being willing to go out and put quite frankly, your egos aside and stepping up to change other people's lives and give your families an opportunity to have something they wouldn't have otherwise and develop yourselves in a way that's going to change your children's lives. So I want to thank all of you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. This has been an awesome, awesome call. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for all the great insight you gave us. Some of the highlights for me on my notes was the 4 levels: the passion and purpose, breaking even, volatile profit, and
stable growth.
Stable growth. Thank you. I didn't write that one down. Stable growth. But just some of these great tips as well, like planning an event the week before your like during your strong cycle, so that you sign up new business on your weak cycle. Like really, really good. I love that. I like when you talked about fear, because we all have fear. We all experience fear at every level of the game. So I'm glad that you talked about that and how change is going to happen. It's not the same world anymore. It's not the same USANA that I had when I started 11 years ago. And, you know, I have to continue to evolve as the company evolves too, and the world evolves.
Yeah. Change is half the fun.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's going to happen anyway, so may as well get used to it. So finding new customers, keeping the customers that you have, and then developing your leaders, just awesome philosophies, and setting goals, doing stuff that's applicable. Just some of my notes, but I took a lot of notes, and thank you again, Brion, for your time. I'll call you after this webinar is over. I just want to say thank you personally. And everybody, let's go ahead and unmute the lines and say thank you, Brion, and have an awesome day.
Thank you, Brion. Have a good day. Thank you.
You got about 20 seconds. If you're catching that weight, it's going from the top of the handle